Society says depression is crying, but psychology reveals it is a nervous system shutdown disguised as laziness. It is staring at unwashed dishes for days, letting calls go to voicemail, or sitting on your bed unable to start a shower. If you keep calling yourself lazy, this shame will trap you in a dangerous, silent isolation. We are going to decode these hidden behaviors today and find a gentle way out. Tell me, what state or city in the US are you resting in tonight? Because no matter how lonely those busy streets feel, you are safe here. Depression does not always look like crying in a dark room. Sometimes it looks like a phone left unanswered, a sink full of dishes, or a body that feels too heavy to carry into the shower. From the outside, these things can seem careless, rude, or lazy. But from the inside, they often feel like survival. There are 10 things depression can make us do, and the first is isolating ourselves. You may stop replying to group chats. You may watch the phone ring and let it go silent. You may cancel plans you once looked forward to, then spend the weekend behind a closed door, telling yourself that you just need rest. But the rest never seems to restore you. People may assume you no longer care. Friends may wonder why you disappeared. Family members may take your distance personally. That misunderstanding can deepen the loneliness, because now you are not only exhausted, you are also ashamed of being exhausted. Depression can make social connection feel incredibly expensive. Every conversation requires energy you do not have. You have to listen, react, smile, explain, and sometimes pretend that everything is fine. Even being around people you love can feel like performing a role. So you withdraw. Not because you hate the world, but because you are trying to protect what little energy remains. Your room becomes a shelter. Silence becomes easier than answering questions. Being alone feels safer than being seen struggling. But isolation has a cruel side. The longer you stay away, the harder it becomes to return. A missed message becomes 10 missed messages. One canceled plan becomes a pattern. Then depression whispers that people are better off without you, when many are simply waiting for a sign that you are still there. The second thing depression can make us do is live in disorder. There may be a chair in your room that has not been used as a chair in months. It is covered with clothes and things you meant to put away. Dishes sit in the sink for days. Trash gathers beside the bed. The floor slowly disappears beneath objects that each seem too small to matter, yet together become impossible to face. You may look at the mess and feel disgusted with yourself. You promise that tomorrow you will clean everything. Then tomorrow arrives and the task feels even larger. You do not know where to begin, so you do nothing. The mess grows, along with the belief that you are failing at something every normal person should be able to do. But depression can interfere with the brain's ability to organize, plan, and complete a sequence of steps. Cleaning is not one action. It is dozens of decisions. Pick up the clothes, separate what is clean, start the laundry, move the dishes, wash one plate, dry it, put it away. When your mind is already overloaded, those steps can feel like climbing a mountain while carrying a weight no one else can see. The disorder around you may begin to mirror the disorder inside you. Once your surroundings become chaotic, your thoughts can feel even more trapped. You may stop inviting people over because you fear being judged. The room becomes smaller, and so does your life. This does not mean you are incapable. It means your brain is struggling to turn intention into action. Sometimes the compassionate response is not to clean the whole room. It is to choose one cup, one shirt, one corner, and let that be enough for today. The third thing depression can make us do is neglect personal hygiene. This is one of the most misunderstood signs because it looks simple from the outside. Just take a shower. Just brush your teeth. Just change your clothes. But when depression has drained your body, there is no such thing as just. You may sit on the edge of the bed for an hour, thinking about the shower without moving. You may feel embarrassed by your hair, your skin, or the clothes you have worn for too many days, yet still feel unable to begin. Even standing can feel like work. Looking in the mirror can feel unbearable. This is not because you are dirty or lazy. Depression can reduce basic self-care to a physical and emotional battle. The body begins to feel less like something you live in and more like something you are responsible for carrying. When you already feel worthless, caring for yourself may seem pointless. You may think, why bother when no one will see me anyway? But your body is not the enemy. It has been carrying pain that your words could not explain. Even the smallest act of care can become a quiet message to yourself. I am still here. I am still worth helping. If all you can do today is wash your face, drink a glass of water, or change into a clean shirt, that is not nothing. That is resistance. That is a small refusal to let depression make every decision for you. The fourth thing depression can make us do is struggle with sleep. For some people, depression turns night into a battlefield. You lie awake at 3 in the morning while your mind replays every mistake you have ever made. A small embarrassment from years ago suddenly feels unbearable. An unanswered message becomes evidence that someone is leaving you. The future stretches out in front of you, and every possibility seems to end badly. Your body is exhausted, but your mind refuses to become quiet. For others, depression does the opposite. You may sleep for 10, 12, or even 14 hours and still wake up feeling as though you never rested. You pull the blanket over your head because sleep is the only place where you do not have to make decisions, explain yourself, or feel the full weight of the day. Sleep stops being restoration. It becomes either something you cannot reach or somewhere you try to disappear. Depression can disrupt the systems that regulate energy, alertness, and the body's natural rhythm. That is why telling someone to simply go to bed earlier often misses the point. The problem is not always a lack of discipline. The mind and body may no longer agree about when it is time to rest. Then the broken sleep creates another painful cycle. You wake up late and feel guilty. You have less energy, so ordinary tasks become harder. At night, you worry about everything you failed to do, and once again, you cannot sleep. If this is happening to you, it does not mean you are weak. Your exhausted body is trying to survive a condition that has made both waking and resting difficult. The fifth thing depression can make us do is catastrophize. A friend takes longer than usual to reply, and your mind immediately says they are tired of you. Your manager gives you a brief correction, and suddenly you are convinced that you are incompetent and about to lose your job. Someone you love seems quiet, and you assume you have done something wrong. Depression can take a small uncertainty and build an entire disaster around it. The thoughts may feel completely logical in the moment. You are not simply imagining one bad possibility. You feel as though you are finally seeing the truth everyone else has been hiding from you. This is one of depression's most convincing illusions. A depressed mind can become trapped in a negative bias. It notices rejection more quickly than affection. It remembers failures more clearly than successes. It searches for evidence that confirms the belief that you are unwanted, unsafe, or incapable, while quietly dismissing anything that suggests otherwise. The danger is not only that you expect something bad to happen, it is that you begin reacting as though it has already happened. You may apologize before anyone is upset. You may withdraw before anyone can reject you. You may give up before you have truly failed. Depression tells you that this is preparation, but often it is fear trying to protect itself from uncertainty. When your mind says, "Everything is falling apart," pause and ask a gentler question. What do I actually know right now? You do not have to force yourself into false optimism. You only need to separate what is happening from what depression is predicting. The sixth thing depression can make us do is develop extreme eating habits. You may eat late at night, searching the kitchen for something sweet, salty, or heavy enough to make you feel different for a few minutes. Food becomes comfort when nothing else reaches you. That brief sensation of pleasure can feel like relief from an emotional emptiness that has lasted all day. Then the relief fades, and shame takes its place, or depression may remove your appetite almost entirely. A meal can sit in front of you while your stomach feels closed. Even foods you once loved seem tasteless. Chewing feels exhausting. You know you should eat, but the body does not send the usual signal that nourishment matters. Neither extreme is a moral failure. Depression can affect appetite, motivation, and the brain's reward system. Some people reach for food to stimulate a small moment of comfort. Others lose interest because the same system that helps us experience pleasure has become muted. The seventh thing depression can make us do is lose motivation for the things we once loved. You may open a game you used to play for hours, stare at the screen, and close it again. Your books remain untouched. Your art supplies gather dust. Music becomes background noise instead of something that moves you. This loss can be frightening because it feels as though an important part of you has disappeared. People may tell you to find a hobby or do something fun. They do not understand that the problem is not a shortage of activities. The problem is that your ability to feel pleasure may have gone quiet. This experience is known as anhedonia. It is not the same as boredom. Boredom still contains a desire for something better. Anhedonia can feel like the absence of desire itself. You may begin to believe that because you cannot feel joy now, you will never feel it again. But numbness is not proof that your capacity for joy has been destroyed. It may simply be buried beneath exhaustion and pain. You do not have to force passion to return all at once. Sometimes healing begins by sitting near the things you once loved, without demanding that they make you happy. One page, one song. 5 minutes outside. The feeling may not return immediately, but your willingness to leave the door open still matters. The eighth thing depression can make us do is avoid problems until they become harder to face. You see the unpaid bill on the table, but turn it over. You notice the urgent email, but leave it unopened. A voicemail waits on your phone for days because listening to it feels like accepting one more demand you do not have the strength to meet. From the outside, this can look irresponsible. You may ask why you did not deal with the problem when it was small. But avoidance is not always a lack of concern. Sometimes it is what happens when the nervous system has reached its limit. When you are already fighting an invisible storm inside, even a simple task can feel threatening. Opening an envelope might reveal bad news. Answering an email might create another obligation. Making one phone call might require energy you cannot imagine finding. So the mind chooses temporary silence. You tell yourself you will handle it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, the problem feels larger, and shame has been added to the original fear. This is not laziness. It can be a form of paralysis. The way forward may begin with making the task smaller than your fear. Open the email without answering it. Put the bill beside your wallet. Ask someone you trust to sit with you while you make the call. Progress does not have to look impressive. Sometimes progress is simply turning toward what you have been afraid to see. The ninth thing depression can make us do is live with constant guilt and self-hatred. You may apologize for speaking too much, then apologize for being quiet. Depression can make you believe that every difficulty around you somehow began with you. If someone is disappointed, you assume you caused it. If a relationship becomes strained, you decide you ruined it. If your family is worried, you see their concern as proof that you have become a burden. Then the inner voice becomes cruel. It tells you that you are weak because you cannot function normally. It compares your private pain to other people's public success. It collects every mistake and presents it as evidence that something is fundamentally wrong with you. But that voice is not an objective judge. It is pain speaking with your voice. Depression can turn symptoms into character flaws. Exhaustion becomes laziness. Withdrawal becomes selfishness. Struggling becomes proof that you are not trying hard enough. The more you believe these accusations, the more you hide. Self-compassion may feel unnatural. Kindness toward yourself may even feel dishonest. But compassion does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means refusing to add cruelty to an already painful experience. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you deeply love. You would not call them worthless because they were sick. You would not call them a burden for needing support. You would remind them that pain can change behavior, but it does not erase human value. You deserve that same mercy. The 10th thing depression can make us do is sabotage happiness because we are afraid of losing it. You meet someone who treats you gently and begin pushing them away. You receive an opportunity you wanted and suddenly find reasons not to take it. You begin waiting for everything to fall apart. Depression may have taught you that disappointment is inevitable. If happiness has disappeared before, trusting it again can feel foolish. You may think it is safer to destroy something yourself than to love it and watch it leave. So you stop answering the person who cares. You create conflict where there was connection. You reject invitations, miss deadlines, or convince yourself that the opportunity was never meant for you. This creates a distorted sense of control. If you end the relationship first, no one can abandon you. If you quit before you fail, no one can expose you. If you refuse hope, nothing can take hope away. But protection can become a prison. Every act of self-sabotage seems to confirm that happiness never lasts, even though fear helped create the loss. Depression points to the damage and says you were never meant to have good things. That is the lie beneath so many of these behaviors. Being afraid of happiness does not mean you are incapable of it. It may mean your mind has learned to associate hope with danger. Healing is about noticing when fear is making decisions your deeper self would not choose. Pause before sending the message that ends the relationship. Wait one day before rejecting the opportunity. Tell someone, "I am pulling away because I am scared, not because I do not care." That sentence alone can interrupt an old pattern. These 10 behaviors do not define you. Isolation, disorder, poor hygiene, broken sleep, catastrophic thinking, extreme eating, loss of motivation, avoidance, guilt, and self-sabotage are not proof that you are defective. They may be signs that your mind has been carrying more pain than it knows how to express. Depression often hides inside ordinary moments. People see the unanswered message, but not the exhaustion behind it. They see the messy room, but not the paralysis. They see the canceled plan, but not the battle it took to get out of bed. Understanding these behaviors does not mean surrendering to them. You are allowed to recognize what depression is doing without blaming yourself for having symptoms. You are also allowed to seek help before your life looks completely broken. You do not have to earn support by suffering more. Talk to someone you trust. Speak with a therapist, doctor, counselor, or support service. If you feel you might harm yourself or you are in immediate danger, contact emergency services or a crisis hotline where you live. Your pain deserves a human response, not silence. And if today all you can do is take one small step, let that step count. Answer one message. Drink one glass of water. Move one plate. Sit near a window. Tell one person the truth. Healing is rarely one dramatic moment. More often, it is a series of quiet decisions to remain here, accept help, and stop treating your suffering as evidence that you are unworthy. You are not a burden because you need care. You are not weak because depression changed the way you live. And you are not lost simply because you cannot yet see the way back. If any part of this felt familiar, share your story in the comments. Naming what we have been hiding may help another person feel less alone. For more conversations that treat mental health with honesty and compassion, subscribe and continue this journey with us. Depression may influence what you do, but it does not get to decide who you are.